Today marks the end of my first cut following a 3-year bulk. This morning I weighed in at 72 kilos. 5 months ago I weighed 92 kilos, the heaviest I've ever been. My previous bulk took me from a very skinny 50 kilos to where I am now. Admittedly, being my first bulk, there were lots of mistakes, ups and downs, but it taught me a lot. So in this video, I'll be applying my knowledge to dial in my next bulk. Consider this first episode the prologue to this new phase. I'll share with you guys where I am now, where I want to go, and most importantly, how I'm going to get there. So let's start with my weight goals. As I said in the intro, I currently weigh 72 kilos. My goal for the next 12 months is to gain 1.5 kilos a month. I've bulked at 2 kilos a month before, but I want to go for a bit of a leaner bulk this time. I think this rate isn't too slow, where progress is almost stagnant compared to so-called main gaining phases, but not too fast where I'll be gaining too much unnecessary fat and achieving Jabba the Hutt status just a few months in. So over a year, which is roughly how long I expect this bulk to last, we're looking at a good 18 kilos gain. And obviously majority of that will be water and fat, but if I can manage about 5 kilos of muscle gain, I would be very happy with that. Now, before I get into my diet that will help me hit this goal, let me show you my training plan and physique that I'm starting with. I say starting because even though this is how I've been training for a while now, I may need to make adjustments later down the track. At its foundation, I'll be running a push-pull leg split. I've run this split pretty much the whole time I've been training. I think grouping the muscles this way is best for managing fatigue and also keeping it simple. I'll be starting day one with push, so chest, shoulders, and triceps. Then pull day with back, biceps, and forearms. Legs with quads, hamstrings, and calves. Then day 4 is reserved for abs, which I'll talk about a bit more later. I'll then repeat this split with another push-pull leg cycle followed by a rest day. So it's an 8-day split, push-pull legs abs, push-pull legs rest. As I go through my training programs for each day, I'll also point out the exercises I have specific goals for, like the bench and squat. So to start off my push day, I do 2 sets of flat bench, but before that, I'll test my 1 rep max. My all-time best is 110 kilos, but I hardly train or attempt heavy singles, so I believe at my heaviest, I could have done 115. All that being said, let's see where I am now. Low-key, I feel pretty shit about this. I used to rep 2 plates quite easily at my peak, but I guess since I'm 20 kilos lighter, I shouldn't beat myself up over this. And this is definitely motivating to get way stronger on this bulk. My goal by the end is to bench 140 kilos or 3 plates. It might be a tall order here, but I'm trying to aim high. So for my normal sets of bench, I'm doing 2 sets for 4 to 6 reps. I've chosen a slightly lower rep range to build strength whilst also giving me a good pump. Then I move on to 2 sets of incline barbell bench in the 6 to 8 rep range. I've opted for barbell over dumbbell because I find it easier to progress on, and setting up for a set is much easier than trying to kick up some heavy ass dumbbells. Also, just as a side note, every single set of every exercise you see in my training program is taken to absolute failure with occasional drop sets and supersets. So after I finish on the incline press, I move on to cable flies. 2 sets, 8 to 12 reps. On the second set, I finish my chest off with the drop set. So for example, here I start with 36.25 kilos, go to failure, and drop it to 28.75 kilos. Go to failure, and then repeat this at 18.75 kilos. Then I move to shoulders, starting with rear delt flies, also on the cable machine. Actually, the rest of my workout is on this machine, so I usually feel bad for hogging it. But anyways, I do 2 sets, 8 to 12 reps. However, on both sets, I do a drop set. I'm starting here at 11.25 kilos, but then I go up the stack until I end here on 6.25 kilos. And for such a small muscle, this shit burns really bad. So after a few minutes of rest, I start on cable lateral raises using a cuff around my wrist. Again, 2 sets, but with lengthened partials at the end of each set. On the second set, I'm also doing a drop set. I've gone for cables over dumbbells here for the stability because I find that I can push harder later on in the set. After lateral raises, I do cable Y raises. I found out about this exercise somewhat recently and I really like it. It feels really targeted on the side delts and I can find that point of failure really easily. 2 sets of this, pushing hard to failure once again. And finally, we end with 3 sets of tricep pushdowns and 2 sets of overhead extensions. It's not really a PR, but I would love to be able to full stack on pushdowns. And here's the physique check, aka our starting point before the bulk. And if I'm being honest, I don't think I have any glaringly obvious weak points. I mean, you could say my shoulders need work or my chest or my triceps, but I honestly just think it all needs work. So I'm not going to single out any particular muscle group to give more attention. I'll just be training all of them equally as hard. One thing I'll add about my training is that I also want to be more diligent when tracking my workouts. I find myself forgetting to count my reps and then just guessing guessing and like slapping a number in my training log. So I obviously want to get more accurate recording what I'm doing each session. Next up is pull day, focusing on the back and biceps with a little bit of forearms for good measure. To start, I'm doing 3 sets of lat pull downs between 8 to 10 reps. First set is a straight set, trying to keep the form relatively in check until the final reps. The second set is the same, but I tack on some lengthened partials at the end there. And the final set I finish with lengthened partials and a drop set. I also want to point out that yes, I use straps for all my back movements, but that's because when I'm doing a back exercise, I want it to primarily only hit my back. I believe that if you want to hit forearms, then you should do forearm exercises. Don't be trying to train your back and forearms in the same movement, because you'll end up hitting neither as effectively as if you just did them separately. After lat pull downs, I do a plate loaded row. This one I do unilaterally or one arm at a time because it helps me get a better stretch in my lats. And here I'm just doing 2 straight sets to failure on each side. Then I move to single arm cable pull downs, which has quickly become one of my favorite exercises to do because it gives me a great stretch at the top and an awesome squeeze at the bottom. I do 2 sets each arm with a drop set to finish. I try to push these super hard and really finish off my back. Wait, pause. Moving on, I do 2 sets of these Smith machine shrugs. I've usually skipped out on these, but as you'll see, I'm gonna do more for my traps and neck this time around. I go reasonably heavy on these, but still controlling it the whole way through. Then I start on biceps with 2 sets of the preacher curl machine. I go pretty heavy on these, training between 5 to 7 reps. Again, really pushing every set to failure, but on the second, I'll finish with a drop set. At the moment, I'm doing 90.5 kilos for only 3 reps on this, and on my last bulk, I was completely maxing this out, so I want to continue to get really strong on this. Afterwards, I hit the brachialis with hammer curls on the same machine. I just grab the handles in the middle so I have a neutral grip. The machine obviously wasn't designed to be used this way, but I really like the constant tension you get over dumbbell hammer curls. So I do 2 straight sets of this, 6 to 8 reps. Then to finish off biceps, I go to a standard cable curl, 3 sets of this for 8 to 10 reps. And on the final set, you guessed it, I'm doing a drop set. By this point, I'm ready to go home, but I've got 3 quick exercises for my forearms, starting with these behind the back wrist curls with the cable. Once I hit failure on this, I stop, rest for 30 seconds, drop the weight slightly, and then go on with a set of these reverse forearm curls. I repeat this twice and then finally finish with 2 sets of these single arm wrist curls. Here's some back shots of the starting physique. And I also measured my biceps, so I'll throw that up on the screen now. And low-key, my shit's pretty small, so we got to work on that, boys. But that's the entire pull day workout. So now it's time to get into the serious shit. First up is squats, and I'm also going for a max here. But this was literally my first time squatting since a tailbone injury, but nonetheless, I somehow thought it would be a good idea to max out. So here I only got 125 kilos for 1. I'm really trying to blow this up by the end of the bulk. My goal is to squat 180 kilos or 4 plates, so I've definitely got my work cut out for me. Just that 1 rep cooked me so bad, I literally couldn't squat for shit afterwards. I got 110 for a measly 2. But I'll keep you guys updated on the squat progression as I go. Afterwards, I move on to RDLs. I also go quite heavy on these, training between 5 to 7 reps. In the future, I want to be repping 405 or 180 kilos, but if that's too easily achievable, then I would love to be doing 200 kilos. So at the moment, I do 2 straight sets of these, pushing to 1 rep before failure, or on the final one, just going to complete failure. Then I go into hamstring curls. I really wish my gym had the seated one, but I just have the lying one. I do 2 sets, 8 to 10 reps with lengthened partials, and on the second, I do a drop set. After that, I do leg extensions. On my first set, I do 8 to 12 reps to failure, then I drop the weight, go to failure again, and repeat this until the weight is too light, just like a normal drop set. But instead of just stopping there, I do sissy squats until failure. This shit really burns the quads out and means I'm usually resting for ages before my next set. I repeat this one more time and finish off the quads. Currently, I'm doing 138 kilos for 9 reps on the leg extension, but just like the preacher curl machine, I really want to see how strong I can get on this over time. For calves, I use this seated leg press machine. So I do 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps, trying to go as heavy as possible. I really want to bring up my calves this bulk because I'd hate for them to get left behind, and I think they're already quite small, so we definitely got to bring them up. I'll track my progress on this and we'll definitely add more volume if needed. Here's what the leg pump is looking like, even though my gym's lighting isn't the best. I've also got measurements for my quads and calves, so I'll throw that up on the screen now. So that's push, pull, and legs done. Now I'm going to quickly go through my ab workout. I start with 3 sets of these weighted crunches, 8 to 12 reps. Then I do 2 sets of cable crunches, 8 to 12 reps, and finish with leg raises. I've only very recently started training abs, but I want to keep training them on the bulk and see how it affects my physique. So I'll be doing this workout once per week. Another thing that I'll be doing on this bulk is neck training. Probably just once or twice a week will be fine. I've seen how it can give a more unnatural or masculine look to a physique. I think building a thicker neck will give me a more complete look. I'm not going to take this too far to the point where my neck is literally thicker than my head, and I want to be safe with it too. So not overloading too much weight and warming up extensively before training, especially since I injured it already a few months ago. At the moment, my neck circumference measures at 14 inches, so we'll track this as the months go on. Now I'm going to get into the diet that's going to enable me to gain those 1.5 kilos every month. I also want to preface that this diet will probably change over time depending on whether I plateau or gain weight too quickly or whatever it might be. But for now, I think it's a pretty solid foundation to get me going. So for breakfast, I'm going to start with a bit of a British lad meal, chili con carne. I prefer starting the day with beef over chicken, and this has always been an easy meal to get down first thing when I'm not hungry. To make it, you start with garlic, onion, and capsicum, then 1 kilo of beef mince and cook until browned. Season with cayenne, paprika, cumin, onion powder, and garlic powder. Add some wine, beef stock, crushed tomatoes, and kidney beans. Finish with a bit of sugar and Worcestershire, this one. Simmer for 30 minutes and then serve with rice and optionally sour cream and cheese. This recipe makes 6 serves at 723 calories and 40 grams of protein. A little side note here, in the mornings I'll also have my crazy supplement stack, which is literally just creatine. For my second meal at about 11 a.m, I'll be having this delicious vodka pasta with chicken. I'm actually making the pasta from scratch here because I've recently found that even though it's more effort, it's really enjoyable and tastes so much better. For the dough here, I'm using 4 eggs and roughly 4 cups of flour. Then I knead it for about 10 minutes or until nice and smooth like this. Chuck that in the fridge for 30 minutes, and in the meantime, I'll start on the chicken. I'm using chicken breast here that I'll dice into cubes and then marinate in olive oil, garlic, lime juice, salt and pepper, and then a bit of paprika. I'll then put that in the oven for half an hour at 180 degrees and then prep the sauce. We're gonna start by melting butter, adding chili flakes, garlic, and onion, and then cook this for about 90 seconds. Then go in with a tomato paste and a sprinkle of sugar. Cook for another minute before adding a couple shots of vodka. Stir in some thickened cream and grated parmesan. I'll then add some more chili flakes or paprika because I like the spice, and then let this simmer. While that's simmering, I can take my pasta dough out of the fridge and halve it into 2 bowls. I roll each one out till they're thin enough to put through the machine, and I start feeding the pasta through on low speed a couple times before folding it in half and putting it through again to get any air bubbles out. Then I continuously feed the pasta through again and again, gradually making it thinner and thinner. Once it's thin enough, I'll flour it and leave it aside until I do the other portions. After all the pasta is rolled out, I switch attachments on the machine to fettuccine and begin feeding the pasta through, repeating this process until all the pasta is made. Almost immediately, the pasta is ready to cook. This should only take about 3 minutes to do, and once done, I move the pasta into the sauce, bringing along some pasta water for extra sauciness, and then throw in the chicken once it's done. This is by far my favorite meal on here, coming in at 1,019 calories and 54 grams of protein per serve. Next up is meal 3, or lunch 2 as I call it, at 3 o'clock, and we have here a delicious egg fried rice with chicken thigh. To start, we're going to take 4 cups of jasmine white rice, wash it out, add some spring onion, a couple cloves of garlic, and then 4 cups of chicken stock. You can either cook this in a pot or in a rice cooker. Once that's done, I'll remove the garlic and spring onions and lay out all the rice out onto a tray. Then I'll put this into the fridge while I prep the rest of the ingredients. In my wok, I'll add some vegetable oil and let it coat the entire surface. Once it's hot enough, I'll add my chicken thigh and cook it all the way through. Then I'll throw in some minced garlic and shallots. After that cooks for about 45 seconds, move everything to the side of the wok and pour my eggs into the middle. Let it cook for about 30 seconds before scrambling them and mixing it through. Then in goes the rice and cooking that for about a minute, keeping everything moving. Finally, I'll add some soy sauce and a drizzle of sesame oil, mix that through and top with peas and corn and some spring onion. And I almost forgot a sprinkle of MSG and white pepper. And there you have it, 899 calories and 60 grams of protein per serve. Now for the final meal of the day, spaghetti bolognese. This one's pretty simple, but I'm starting with homemade pasta, which I'm making the same as as before, but just, you know, spaghetti. Then in my pot, I'm adding garlic and onions to some olive oil, then 1 kilogram of beef mince to cook until browned. In goes some crushed tomatoes and passata, red wine, seasoning, and a splash of milk. I let this simmer while I cook the pasta, and then bam, spaghetti bolognese. 799 calories and 46 grams of protein. So in total, 3,440 calories, and wow, exactly 200 grams of protein, which is pretty neat. Just a little disclaimer though, it will probably take me a week or so to build up to these portions because my appetite is kind of shot at the moment. So I'll be starting with smaller portions and slowly increasing them. As for hydration, I'll be drinking a minimum of 5 liters every day to ensure the creatine I'm taking is being utilized to full effect. And for sleep, my routine will be being in bed by 9:30 to wind down and actually asleep close to 10 p.m. This way I can make sure I at least get 9 hours, waking up at 7 a.m. or later every morning. So with that, I think that's everything I need to talk about before I begin this bulk. I'll be posting a monthly video, hopefully on the 1st of every month, to track my progress as well as more entertaining segments so I'm not just yapping the whole time. But if you've made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. I can't imagine many people will be super invested in my journey from the beginning, but if you are, consider subscribing so you can follow it. I'm really excited to get stronger and start eating again. So with that being said, I really appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.